Hey guys, so today I really just wanted to share with you a couple tips on goal setting because I know goal setting is something that a lot of people they either struggle with or they just don't know how to do it correctly, and they end up getting results they don't want, or they end up not achieving their goals. So I just wanted to share with you. First, I want to start off talking about a few stats relating to goal setting, and then I'm just going to give you like my top 5 tips on how you can set goals more effectively. So I want to start with the stats. So 83% of people have no goals whatsoever, which is honestly disappointing. And, it's something that concerns me, honestly, because I think, goals are kind of like human nature. It's human nature to be driven by goals. So if you don't have goals, then it's kind of like, why are what are you living for? Like, you're just aimlessly wandering through life. Not to say that you should always have a goal, but goals just help you keep on track. And honestly, the more goals most successful people, generally have goals. So it's important to set goals. So the next set is that 14% of people have no plan, like they have a goal of some sort, but they have no plan at all. A goal if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So, if you don't have a plan of action that goes along with that goal, that's an issue. It's a start that you have a goal, but you need to define a plan of action to go with that. So the last stat is only 3% of people have written down their goals. Writing down your goals is very important, which I'll talk a little more about later on, because you're a lot more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down. All right, so the first tip on setting effective goals is you have to stay focused. Like, that's the number one. Actually, let me back up. I'm going to talk about specificity first. So number one tip is specificity. So your goals must be specific. If you're not specific, you're going to get vague results. So for example, you could say, I want to lose weight this year. Well, first off, by what date? So you could say this year, but you could define the date. Be more clear. Like, do you want to lose weight by June 21st? Like, how many pounds? And what are you going to do consistently to, achieve that goal? So like, for instance, if you're vague about it, you just say, I want to lose weight. You lose 1 pound, you've lost weight. Technically, you have achieved your goal because you did not define it. That can cause frustration. So, an example of a good clear goal would be, I want to lose 50 pounds by June 21st. And I will exercise 3 days a week for at least 1 hour. So something like that. You gotta have a plan of action, and and the specificity, of course. And also, along with specificity, you should have a story tied to it. So like something, I just watched a video recently on how to set goals effectively, and something he mentioned that I had never heard of before was telling a story, putting a story behind your goals. So for instance, going back to the weight loss example, you could say like, I will lose 50 pounds by June 21st because I will never forget when I was teased for being overweight as a kid. So something like that, and put like a story that has a strong and powerful emotion behind it. So, it could be related to something painful or something positive. Generally, I guess it'd be cool to go with something painful because oftentimes pain pushes you to greatness. So I think if you put something painful behind, a painful story behind it, then that'll make your goals more effective. So my second tip, and now we're getting to focus. Okay, so focus is the single most important key to success. If you cannot focus on anything, you're not really going to go anywhere. You have to stay focused to be able to achieve the things you want in life. And focus kind of has 2 parts to it. So the first part I want to talk about focusing is just keeping your goals in the forefront of your mind. So you can do that in several ways. You could have a vision board, or you can, really you need to do all 3. It's good to do all 3, but you can have a vision board. You say them consistently and you write them down, which I'll talk about writing them down later on in a little bit. But yeah, so focusing, you just want to have the goals at the forefront of your mind. You want to be able to consistently read them. And by consistently, I mean every day. So consistently read them, write them down, multiple times if you need to, just to like get it ingrained in your brain that like this is something you can do. You want to be able to focus on it as much as possible. I don't really want to say you should obsess over it. I just want to say you should focus a lot. Just reading it consistently, writing it down every day, reading it every day. I read my goals and write them down twice a day, in the morning and evening, and sometimes in the middle of the day, depending on if I have something going on. I may not always be able to do it in the middle of the day, but consistently, like my consistent routine has been to write it down in the morning and at night, and to read it in the morning and at night. So that's been really helpful for me. And also, a vision board is basically just a physical representation of your goals, or something that will just stimulate your mind to like be able to visualize something that helps you visualize, putting yourself in the position of having achieved the goal. So for instance, if you want to go to Disney World, you could print out a picture of Disney World and Photoshop you or your family or something like that into the photo, just so you can get a visual representation of what that will actually be like. And it'll probably motivate you even more, having a vision board. So just having pictures along with something, just really helps. And also with focus comes, just focusing on God, just praying consistently, basically every day, about this goal, and just make sure it aligns with God's will for your life. You can always pray about that. So consistent prayer as well too. It's not just enough just to focus on your goal. You gotta, talk to God about it first. Make sure He's cool with it. And if you feel like He is, then just keep praying about it, because you don't really, you gotta seek after God too to get your goal. Because if you pray about it once, it doesn't happen, you just give up, and it's not really. That won't do much good for you. You got to keep at it until you actually get it. God talks about if what father, would not give his child like bread or something like that. You may know the verse I'm talking about. I forgot where it is, but it's a verse that talks about if you keep asking for something, if you're a good father, would you not give your child that thing they keep asking for? So you got to keep asking. And for the second part of focus is you got to focus on, I'd say, one at a time. Don't have too many goals at once. Because, for instance, if you're trying to chase too many things at once, you're likely to catch neither of them. Like if you're trying to chase a rabbit and also chase a scorpion or something. I know it's a weird example, but go with it. You're trying to chase a rabbit and a scorpion, then, you're likely to catch neither. Because you're trying to, you're going in too many different directions. So it's good to stay focused on one thing at a time. Not to say that you can't have multiple, but just one at a time is good. And I like to relate a list of good goals. So first off, I think you should have roughly anywhere from 5 to 10 goals, and they should consist of long-term goals, medium-term goals, and short-term goals. Long-term goals would be like goals that you want to achieve in at least a year or more, or a year or several years. Medium-term would be goals that you want to achieve over the next few months. And short-term goals would be goals that you want to achieve in the next few days or weeks. And then as far as the types of goals, I kind of like to compare it to a good college list, since I'm applying to college now. That's fun. So I like to compare it to a college list in that, a good college list should have some schools that you'd have to try hard not to get into. And also it should also have schools that are a little bit of a struggle for you to get into, but most likely you will get into. And then you should have some reach schools. Sort of for instance, this is not for everyone. An Ivy League school, that's an example, just one example of a reach school, which is pretty much a reach for anybody. So if you had an Ivy League school and then a sub-Ivy school and then some other kind of school that you'd have to try hard not to get into. And disclaimer, I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging against anyone for anyone's college choices or any kind of school. These are just the examples I'm giving you. I'm not trying to be disparaging towards anyone for choosing any type of school. I just wanted to throw that out there. So it should be like a good college list. You should have some goals that are easy for you to achieve, goals that are a little more of a struggle to achieve, but things that you should be able to do if you push yourself hard enough. And then you should have goals that are really out of your reach, things that might take a long time, goals that should really even scare you. Sometimes if certain goals don't scare you, I don't think you've set the right goals. You haven't set goals that are big enough. And if they don't scare you, they probably means that you're not going to be able to step out in faith. And part of achieving goals is when you do it with God, He wants you to step out in faith. So if there are certain goals that don't scare you, you need to have more goals that scare you so you can step out in faith, because you don't always need to know the end result before achieving a goal, because that's the whole point of faith. Otherwise, you wouldn't need God if you could do it all yourself. So I think you should definitely have some goals that scare you. And I know it may be weird, doing all this at first, but it'll definitely help you, and you'll definitely appreciate yourself for doing this. Okay, so the third tip is to write your goals down. Here's why writing it down is important. It's for the same reason as, how they also say that if you writing something down versus, typing notes in a computer, it's kind of the same thing. Basically writing down anything is really more effective than any other method you could use. So, most of us know that writing down notes physically with our hand, pen and pencil and paper, is more effective than typing notes to the laptop. And also, kind of similarly, well, that was a bad example, but I think you all would get the point. But anyway, so writing your goals down, if you have them written down and you can see them consistently, you're more likely to achieve them because you've written them down, you've taken the time, you've invested in yourself taking the time to write them down. So now you can physically look at them, and it's not something you're just going to forget about, because anybody can come up with something in their mind and then easily forget about it and not focus on it at all. So writing it down, it helps you to stay focused on the goal. Because if you just keep it in your head, you're less likely to actually take a plan of action and act on it and do what you said you were going to do. And and a good scripture for this is Habakkuk 2:2. It says, "Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it." So I want to just focus on that first part. Write down the revelation. Or revelation is also synonymous with the vision. So if you have a goal, or a vision, you want to write it down and make it plain. Make it plain. Make it be clear. That goes back to the specificity thing. You want it to be as clear as possible. So the fourth tip for writing effective goals is that your goals, this kind of goes back to the whole your goal should scare you thing, but your goal should push you far from your comfort zone. So you should have at least one goal on your 5 to 10 list of goals that pushes you from your comfort zone. Otherwise, it's not really worth fighting for to achieve. And I think you all get the point on that by now. So okay. So the last tip is your goal should involve more than just you. They shouldn't all just be about you. Of course, you can have some goals about yourself. I want to be health goals to improve your health, things like that. But you should also have goals that are about more than just you. And it's always good to involve someone else, whether that be through having them keep you accountable or just having them partner with you in achieving those goals. It's always good to have other people take partnership in you with your goals, because we weren't meant to do things in isolation. We were meant to have other people help us through the challenges of life. And also, even if you don't necessarily want someone to help you with your goals, just share it with someone else. Because if you share it with someone, you're more likely, because now someone else has the ability to hold you accountable, you're more likely to achieve your goals. If you share them with someone else, you're more likely to follow through with what you said you were going to do in the first place, because now someone else is holding you accountable. And I'm sure you don't want to look bad if you told someone else you would do something and didn't follow through. And I want to go off on a side tip. Those are the 5 tips, but before I end, I want to go back on a tangent a little bit. So I want to talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions. So I personally don't like New Year's resolutions, because I feel like just the connotation they have is negative, and most people don't achieve them. I think it's 92% from what I've heard. 92% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions within 15 days, like January 15th, which is frustrating. And so I just don't like New Year's resolutions. I'd rather people set goals that are purposeful rather than just New Year's resolutions that they set on the whim of, because they feel good because it's a new year, they want to do something cool. No, I feel like if you're gonna set a New Year's resolution, I would rather you set a goal than a New Year's resolution. So and I would rather you set those 3 types of goals, those short-term goals. And I would start simple. When you're first starting out with goal setting, you want to start simple. Then you can build your way up to harder things. So start simple. For instance, a simple goal, I don't know if this will be simple for you, but I guess it was simple for me. It was to, sometimes I'll try to cut out dessert or various things. So say I will not eat any dessert, sweets or sugary drinks, anything like that for 1 week, for 7 days. So a week from today would be, today's October 12th. So October 19th, I will not eat any dessert, sweets, or sugary drinks, or drink any sugary drinks until October 19th. That would be an example of, let's say, a simple goal, 1 week. I'm sure all of us can go a week without dessert. So that would be an example of a simple goal. Maybe a medium goal would be I will not eat any dessert, sweets, sugary drinks, or candies or anything like that for 1 month, until November 12th. Something like that, which is something I've also done, which is, it's a little more of a challenge, but, it's doable. And then, kind of going with the same subject, with going back to the candy thing. So a long-term goal would be, I will not eat, this is very hard. I've not done this before, but, this would be, it'd be crazy to see someone do this. I will not eat any dessert, sweets, sugary drinks, or candies, or anything of the like, until October 12th, 2020. So a year from now, basically, I won't eat dessert, sugary drinks, or fried foods. Well, not fried foods, sorry. I won't eat dessert, sugary drinks, or drink. I won't eat any dessert or drink sugary drinks for the next year. So that's an example of a long-term goal. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. So I hope that helps. And I want to leave you again with one scripture, going back to focus. It's Proverbs 24:25. says, let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze straight before you. And also, there are plenty of examples of people in the Bible who were able to focus. Jesus, he was one example. It's probably the biggest example. He was able to focus. Sometimes he needed time away from people. He would go, he would leave the crowds and, just be by himself to be able to talk to God because he knew what was important. He was focused. He didn't let the issues of the world or the peoples or even his disciples, distract him from his mission. Another great example is the Apostle Paul. He was so focused that, he was able to, sing praises to God and do other, crazy things in prison. He was still able to focus. But, the biggest common denominator of all the people who've done anything great is focus. So I just really want to emphasize that to you, focus. So just to recap my 5 tips for setting goals effectively. Number 1 is you got to be specific. Be clear on what you want. The second one is to focus. Don't have too many goals, and also focus. Read, write, look at, have a vision board. Look at those goals consistently. By consistently meaning every single day is ideal. The third tip is to write them down. Pen and pencil, paper, old-fashioned. Write them down, and write them down consistently every day. The fourth tip is that your goal should put you from your comfort zones. You want to have that goal that scares you, so you're able to walk out in faith and trust God more. And finally, your goal should involve more than just you. You should be able to have someone hold you accountable and take partnership with you in your goals. All right, guys, that is it for my top 5 tips for goal setting. I hope these tips have helped you, and I hope they will encourage you. And comment on the video. Also comment on this blog post. Shoot me an email. Let me know what you think about this video. And that's it. Have an awesome day.